Now let's move on to the really popular subject of religion. Let's entertain a new concept. With all of the above that was mentioned in the previous section, it is time to look more astutely at this divisive and misunderstood view of religion as it applies to African people around the world. Most of us, in fact I'm willing to say almost all of us, don't follow the religion of our forefathers. Are we that ashamed of our heritage? Have we been brainwashed to that degree? The above quote illustrates what the British did in Africa, but they also did the same thing to the people of India. But today, the Indians are not Christians. The same can be said of China, but they are not Christians, and both seem to be functioning very well today. Finally, we must ask the question, is there a link between religion and economic dominance that we have been too naive to? I think Dr. King would say emphatically yes on all counts. Religion is the framework that sets the thresholds for behavior and initiative. Today, Pan-Arabism is strengthening as they band together to fight the West. China and Japan have quietly taken the economic, military, and technological position that was once held by the West. What do they all have in common? They all have the religion, language, and therefore the continuity of the destiny of their forefathers. We still like that old slave religion, that slave language, and the self-destructive practice of the fathers who raped our mothers and molested our daughters. I pray daily that one day our people will wake up to the recipe for success. We are still wandering in the wilderness because we have yet to appreciate the legacy of Africa and the legacy of our forefathers. What would Martin Luther King say? I guarantee you that he would sing the sentiment of Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey. Even if we continue to practice the religion of our oppressors, be they Arab or European, we must reshape them and fit them to our agenda, and to ensure that self-determination and Pan-Africanism is not lost to a negative love that curses you and your children, a negative love that makes you a stranger or a beggar on your own native land, as it is for our brothers in North Africa who find themselves under the dominance of so-called Arabs, or to a negative love that will ensure your shame for your heritage and reverence to theirs, as we do in the West here in America, where we don't want to have anything to do with Africa, but everything to do with what the slave master left us. I am a Muslim by nature, not by faith. My Islam is not that of Sunni or Shiite or Mohammedan. I am also a Christian. My Christian is not that of the Catholic or Methodist or Baptist. I am an Israelite. My Judaism is neither Ashkenazi or Hasidic. I am a follower of the Vedic revelations of Manu. My belief is, however, not Hindu. One would ask, how could one have so many varying belief structures? The answer is knowledge of self. The true self, the higher self, is not bound by any sectarian facet of truth. It is the truth in the whole of it as it is expressed within mankind's capacity to understand. My father or mother came to all mankind and blessed them all with gifts of light, truth, and wisdom, and at one point in time or another, similar to the explanation of how a saw was cut into 14 different pieces and taken to the four corners of the earth. My blood runs through the vein of all men, carrying it with it the life force of universal truth. How then could I hate, mistreat, or marginalize man in that which another believes, unless it is purely falsehood? The above statement of Martin Luther King adds fire to the argument that Christianity as practiced in the sectarian sense is not the whole truth. And this partial practice and this partial understanding of God has led to division, world war, slavery, and worldwide oppression. It is time to call a spade and remove these cancers that invade the minds of what would otherwise be righteous people and come to terms with the truth of the matter. If it is God, if it divides, then it is not of God. If it uses its tenets to justify any of the evils just mentioned, it must be removed from our psyche. The purpose of this book is not to point out all the wrongs of Christianity, but to present the right. This section will look at Africanizing Christianity. The proper name for this section should really be Re-Africanizing Christianity. For the first Christian nations were in the mighty empires of Ethiopia and Nubia. The history of Christianity can be provided by teachers such as Noble Drew Ali, Dr. Barashango, Chancellor Williams, who also look like us and share our interests. So why not listen? Why do our preachers not teach the whole truth? I mean, the majority of them actually, go to divinity schools and these type of things, so they know the origin, but they don't teach it. Modern day Christianity went through several transfigurations. It must be noted that the majority of the book details the plight of the so-called Jews. Jesus was Jewish, a Nazarite who looks much like the Rastas of today, who do not let the razor touch his head nor their face, similar to certain Hindus and certain Muslims. His hair was like wool, and his feet the color of brass, as if they burned in a fire, as mentioned in Revelations. This is a major significance, not just to show and prove that Jesus was an African, in particular, what we call today or may identify as Rastafarian, but that Christianity is a misnomer. Much like the Native Americans in our land today were misnomered the Indians, by the white man's inaccurate worldview, it has seated itself on the tongue and minds of our people. This is not to be racist, but it's just a fact. So how did Christianity become the label for the Jews, who are a separate group still in existence, when in fact the book on Christianity tells of their plights? Children of Christianity, listen, hear, and understand. Know well the story of your slave master's religion and how it came into being. And we're going to go into that in this next section.